Computer Money Talk here with another video. And this video, I'm going to time travel back to 1950 and compare it to 2025. And we're going to see who had it easier and who had it harder financially. So who does? You think people have it harder now, or do you think they have it harder back in the 70s? So this is a 50-year review. I'm going to talk about the income, the car, all that. So 1975, there was no Gen Z, no millennials. Gen X, they were all kids or teenagers at this point. So the youngest adult generation would have been the baby boomers and the silent generation. So they would have been the younger adults back then, back in those days. And we are going to start by the income. So I'm going by average for both 1975 and 2025. So what do you think the average income was back in 1975? So the average income. So this is what I got according to the internet. Was 13 grand and $13,720. Okay, now what was the car payment? In other words, how much did the average car cost back then? So the average car costs a little less than 5 grand. $49.50. Okay, now the average home. So the average home back then didn't cost that much, did it? $30,900. Okay, what was the price of gas? 57 cents. I wish it was that much now. And cable. You want to know how much cable costs? The average price of cable? It was around $5. I mean, if you were around back then, I mean, you're free to correct me if you were around back then. You tell you what the price of the cable was. Because obviously, I wasn't around in 1975. My parents were still kids back then. I'm not even sure they even knew what the price of cable was because they weren't paying the bills. It would have been my grandparents that were paying the bills back then. So this is 1975. Now, fast forward 50 years in the future, which is present day. So what do you think the average income is? I was wondering that. So according to the internet, so I'm doing these research from the internet, it is less than 60 grand. So this is average according to the internet. So I don't think like it's too bad. I mean, this would be like middle class right here. Okay. So how much does the average car cost a day? So it costs nearly 10 times the amount it was back in 1975. That is a huge difference right there. $48,000. And the home. Oh, y'all gonna like it, the home, how much that went up. So the average home was less than 40 grand. But now it's more than 400 grand. So it's more than 10 times as much as it was in 1975. The price of gas today, it is $3.22. It's actually a little bit lower now because I saw the gas price. There was some that was like $2.94, so it's a little bit lower in my area. But It's different in every state. Also, it was just cable back then you were paying for. Because the internet in 1975, it did not exist. The internet did exist in the 70s. I wonder how things would have been different. My dad be telling me I'd be trying to do like some online dating. He be making fun of me. I'd be like, well, they would have had internet in the 70s and 80s. I bet you would have did online dating too. But he said he wanted. Obviously, we will never know. Because he was married by the time the internet came around. Which is good for him. I wish I could have been married before the internet came around. But now, anyway, the average, I'm gonna mix up the internet with the cable. Because I couldn't put the internet here because it didn't exist. And most people pay the internet bill with their cable bill. So I did combine it for this one. And the average price for cable and the internet together, it is $143. So that's a big jump from $5 now, is it? It goes from like $5 to this amount. But to be fair, back in the 70s, I think there was only like 13 channels. But today, there's like hundreds of channels now. So I can see why cable calls more. But I got some ways around cable. I had to tell y'all that. I use like a satellite dish, so I get cable for free. I was watching Walker Texas Ranger and I didn't pay anything for it. So I got everything. Okay, so that's a huge difference from here. So they had lower income. The car payment was lower here. So you do have more income, but the expenses are also higher. So who really pays more? So $13,000 in 1975 is more than what it is in 2025. Because also, if I made this much back in 1975, I would have been considered like maybe upper middle class, like close to being rich. Because this was the average income. So I guess this would have been considered middle class back in 1975. So now we're going to convert this money to modern times. So if we convert it to modern time, who really makes more? So this is what I did. I went online and I basically calculated how much $13,000 would be worth today. And you want to know what I got? And please don't say the Holy Spirit name anything, but this is what they really made. So making 13 grand back in 1975 would be like making 80 grand today. Okay, what about the car payment? What was that? What would that be like paying? So you wouldn't paying less than 30 grand for a car. I mean, that's still kind of pricey, but it's a lot less than paying this amount still. Okay, what about a home? So you see the price of a home now, but what was $38,000 like spending back then? So for a home, it would be like spending a couple hundred grand. So $228,000, 197. That's how much it would have been like paying for a home back in 1975. The gas price. What was $57, like 57 cents spending like back in 1975? What would that be equivalent to today? So this is probably the only one that went up. So $3.34. So that's a little bit more than it is today. $3.34. So it's basically about the same because some gas prices do cost that much right now. So it was $5 like spending. So spending $5 in 1975 for cable. What was that like for a day? That was like spending less than $30. So this would have been a month. Basically would have been a monthly bill right here. So let's compare. So Aussies, you look like he was making less money than you are today, but we go here. This is the real amount. So the income was 80 grand. This was the average income back in 1975. And this is the income we make today. So we convert the amount of money from back in 1975. You consider, because a dollar, you can buy more with a dollar back then. So the dollar gets weaker like every year from inflation. So when you put inflation in the equation, it would have been like making 80 grand back in the day. Car payment, 29 grand compared to the 48 grand right here. So the home, yeah, that looks pretty cheap compared to here. But even when we consider inflation with a dollar cost, it is still lower than what you would pay today. Gas, it's a little bit higher back then. I probably pick a bad year. If I would have picked maybe I would have picked 1974, it would have been lower. I guess gas price must have been high that year. So this is the only one that's higher in 2025. And cable was a lot lower back then than it is today. $5, but even when you consider inflation, less than $30 compared to the $143 you spend a day. Obviously, there was less channels. There was no internet. So I can see why it costs more today. But even when I had basic cable, it still costs a lot of money. For me, at least. So I just want to go over this. Did people have it easier back then financially, or do they have it easier now? And my conclusion, people had it easier back then when it came to finance. They were able to save more money back then. They were able to invest more. Obviously, invest back then would have been harder because there was like third party. You had to go to like some broker. There was no Robinhood or Webull or any of those other websites you could invest. So investing would have been a little bit tougher back then, but it was still possible. So financially, it was better living back then 50 years ago than it is now. So I just want to go over that. I mean, if you were around 1975, if any of my subscribers or viewers were around 1975, if any of these are wrong, let me know. Because obviously I got all this from the internet and I wasn't around in that year. That would have been my parents' year. I mean, my parents would have been kids in this year. And it would have been my grandparents paying for all this, obviously. And I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to show y'all it again. You get a good view of this. So if you really think we had it easier back then, if you think we have it harder now and we think we had it easier back then, let me know. But if you think we had it harder back then and we have it easier now, feel free to leave comments. And this is the first time you ever seen my video. This is basically a financial channel. I'm not a financial advisor. On this channel, I talk about ways to make money, save money, invest money, basically anything to do with money. And sometimes I give away money, so you want to be subscribed, you want to hit that bell button, because you never know when I'm going to give away money. I'm going to give away something when I hit 800 subscribers. There's going to be like 3 winners, so just remember that. But I'm not going to say what it is until I hit 777. But with that being said, have a good weekend. Bye for now.